Welcome to Teolumen Insights, where we reveal the hidden forces that shape the way you live and show you how to use them to create real transformation and supercharge your health, mindset, and daily life. Here are your hosts, Emma Greenwood and Nathan Sinclair.
Welcome back to Teolumen Insights. I'm Nathan Sinclair. And, we'd love to take these complex ideas and try to distill them into something we can actually use in our lives.
That's right.
And today we are diving into the work of P.D. Ouspensky.
P.D. Ouspensky. Now, he was a philosopher, an esotericist, who really spent his whole life exploring these big ideas.
Yeah.
Consciousness, higher dimensions, even human evolution.
The good stuff.
All that good stuff. And I'm Emma Greenwood, by the way.
And what's so fascinating about Ouspensky, at least for me, is that he doesn't just talk about these things, right?
Right.
In some kind of abstract way, he offers a system.
He does.
He offers a path.
Yeah.
For working on ourselves.
Yes. And for moving towards a higher level of being.
That's right. And that's what we're going to try to unpack today. We've got a selection of Ouspensky's writings.
We do.
I have to say, even just skimming through them, I was blown away by just the sheer depth.
Oh, absolutely.
And complexity of his thoughts.
He's not an easy read.
No.
But that's what makes it so rewarding. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that can lead to some really profound insights.
A challenge accepted.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with this mountain of ideas?
Well, I think one of the places that he starts is with this idea that most people, they live in a state of sleep, even when they're awake.
Interesting.
We're so caught up in our thoughts, we're so caught up in our emotions and our habitual patterns that we're not really present in our own lives.
That's a pretty sobering assessment of the human condition.
It is.
He's not pulling any punches, is he?
No, he's not. But he does offer a way out of this sleepwalking state.
Okay.
And he calls it self-remembering.
Self-remembering.
And he describes it as, a state of being present, being aware of yourself as a whole, rather than just being lost in all those thoughts and emotions.
So it's like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
For our consciousness.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that? Like, how do we cultivate this self-remembering in our actual, everyday lives?
Well, he suggests a few different techniques.
Yep.
One is to kind of create reminders throughout the day.
Okay.
So that could be something as simple as putting a small object in your pocket and you notice it whenever you touch it.
Okay.
Or you can have a specific phrase that you repeat to yourself.
Got it.
The key is to create these intentional interruptions in your autopilot,
Yeah.
Just to remind yourself to wake up, to be present.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's like setting an alarm.
Exactly.
For our consciousness.
Yes.
To pay attention to what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Both inside and outside of ourselves.
It is.
What other techniques did he recommend?
So another one, a really powerful one, is something called divided attention.
Divided attention.
And this is where you consciously direct your attention to multiple aspects of your experience simultaneously.
Okay.
So for example, if you're walking down the street, you might notice the sensations of your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
The sounds of the city around you. And even the quality of your own inner state. All at the same time.
So instead of being completely absorbed in one single thought or sensation,
right,
we're kind of expanding our awareness to take in the whole picture.
Exactly.
The whole experience.
Ouspensky believed that divided attention can help us to cultivate a much more expansive and inclusive awareness.
Got it.
It kind of trains our minds to be more present.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I can see how that would be really helpful in breaking free from those habitual patterns of thought and behavior that keep us stuck in that, sleepwalking state.
Absolutely.
So that's how we start to wake up. But then what? What happens next?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Ouspensky believed that as we cultivate this self-remembering, as we become more conscious of ourselves, we start to notice something pretty remarkable.
What's that?
We begin to realize that we're not just this single unified I, but rather a collection of different I's that are constantly vying for control.
Okay, hold on. Multiple I's. I'm not sure I'm following you.
Think about it this way. 1 minute, you might be feeling happy.
Right.
Optimistic. The next minute, you might be feeling anxious, irritable.
Sure.
Or you might have one I that wants to eat healthy and exercise, and another I that just wants to order pizza and binge watch Netflix.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we're not actually one coherent self.
Right.
but a bunch of different personalities all mashed together.
Exactly. And Ouspensky referred to this collection of I's as the false personality.
The false personality.
Hey,
And that's where, like, the negative emotions come in.
Precisely. Ouspensky believed that most of our negative emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, self-pity,
Right.
all of that.
All the good stuff.
All that fun stuff stems from our identification with this false personality.
So it's not that these emotions are inherently bad
Right.
or wrong, but it's the way we get caught up in them.
Exactly.
The way we identify with them that creates the suffering.
Exactly. And Ouspensky argued that by becoming aware of these different I's, by observing them without judgment, we can start to disentangle ourselves from their grip.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty tall order.
Mhm.
How do we even begin to identify and separate ourselves from these different I's?
Yeah.
Like, they seem so intertwined with who we think we are.
It's a process, for sure. It requires a lot of self-observation, a lot of honesty, and a willingness to really question our assumptions about ourselves.
Right.
But Ouspensky believed that this is the key to breaking free from the tyranny of that false personality.
So it's the key to accessing our true potential.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how all this is, like, starting to connect now. Ouspensky's weaving together this incredible tapestry of knowledge.
He is.
Ancient wisdom and modern thought to try to illuminate this path to self-discovery,
Yeah.
to higher consciousness.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
And he also believed that this journey of self-discovery requires a certain kind of effort, a specific approach to working on oneself. And he often referred to this as the work.
The work.
The work. What exactly did he mean by that? Well, Ouspensky believed that the work is about consciously striving to become more than what we are, to overcome our limitations, and evolve towards a higher level of being.
So it's not just about passively observing ourselves.
Right.
Or hoping for the best.
No.
It's about actively engaging in the process of transformation.
Exactly. And this work, according to Ouspensky, requires a few key ingredients: self-observation, non-identification, self-remembering, and a willingness to challenge our habitual patterns of thought and behavior.
I'm sensing a theme here. These are all qualities we've been talking about throughout this whole conversation.
Right.
But how do they actually fit together in this process of the work?
Well, he believed that self-observation is really the foundation of everything.
Got it.
It's about paying attention to our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, without judgment. Simply noticing them as they arise.
So it's about becoming more aware of our inner world.
Yes.
Of the machinery that's running.
Yes.
Beneath the surface of our consciousness.
Exactly. And once we start to observe ourselves more closely, we begin to notice something pretty remarkable.
What's that?
We start to see that we're not actually in control of our thoughts and emotions as much as we think we are.
Okay.
They seem to have a life of their own, often pulling us in directions that we don't consciously choose.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience.
Right.
It's like there's this whole other world operating inside of us that we're not even aware of.
And that's where non-identification comes in.
Okay.
Ouspensky believed that we need to learn to create a space between ourselves and our thoughts and emotions. To stop identifying with them as if they were our true self.
So it's like we're taking a step back.
Yeah.
Becoming the observer. Rather than getting swept away by the current of our inner world.
Exactly. And this is where self-remembering becomes so crucial. By cultivating that state of presence, of being aware of ourselves as a whole, we can start to loosen the grip of those habitual patterns and reactive emotions.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. It's about becoming more conscious of ourselves. Of the different I's that are operating within us. And then using that awareness to choose how we want to respond rather than just reacting automatically.
Precisely. And this, for Ouspensky, is the essence of the work. It's about taking responsibility for our own inner world, for our own evolution, and for creating a more conscious and fulfilling life.
This is all incredibly insightful, but I have to admit it's also a bit overwhelming.
It can be.
It sounds like this work requires a tremendous amount of effort, discipline, and self-awareness. Did Ouspensky offer any practical guidance on how to actually begin this journey?
He did. And one of his most profound insights, I think, is that we can't do this work alone. We need the guidance and support of others who have gone further on the path. He believed that true transformation requires a school, a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to this journey of awakening.
So it's not about isolating ourselves.
Right.
And trying to figure it all out on our own. It's about finding a group
Yes.
A tribe that can help us to stay on track and challenge us to grow.
Exactly. And Ouspensky believed that working within a school provides the structure, the accountability, and the transmission of knowledge that's necessary for real progress.
I love that. That's a powerful image. It suggests that we need each other. We can't truly awaken from this sleepwalking state without the support and guidance of others who have already embarked on this journey.
And that leads us to one of the most fundamental questions that Ouspensky grappled with, which is the nature of reality itself.
Okay.
He believed that our ordinary three-dimensional perception of the world is incredibly limited, and that there are higher dimensions of reality that are currently beyond our grasp.
Okay, now we're getting into some seriously mind-bending territory, higher dimensions. What exactly did he mean by that?
He was particularly fascinated by the fourth dimension, and he used the concept of the fourth perpendicular to challenge our perception of reality itself.
So not just another direction in space, but something more fundamental.
Exactly. Imagine a two-dimensional being, like, living on a flat plane.
Good.
It can only perceive length and width. Now, if a three-dimensional object, like a sphere, were to pass through that plane, the two-dimensional being would only see a series of changing circles. It wouldn't be able to grasp the sphere as a whole.
I see where you're going with this. We, as three-dimensional beings, are limited in our perception just like that two-dimensional being. We can only see a slice of reality.
Precisely. And Ouspensky argued that the fourth dimension, though currently beyond our direct perception, holds the key to understanding the true nature of reality. He believed that we could begin to explore this fourth dimension through thought experiments and by expanding our capacity for visualization.
So how do we actually do that? How do we start to see beyond our habitual way of perceiving the world?
Ouspensky pointed to the work of Charles Howard Hinton, a mathematician and writer, who developed exercises to help people visualize objects from all sides at once, freeing them from the limitations of perspective.
So we're talking about, like, literally retraining our minds.
Yes.
To see things differently.
Yeah.
To break free from the limitations of our three-dimensional perception.
Exactly. And this, for Ouspensky, was a crucial step on the path to self-development and higher consciousness. He believed that by expanding our perception, we could begin to glimpse the possibility of a different state of being, one that he referred to as the Superman.
The Superman.
The Superman.
Isn't that Nietzsche's idea?
It is, but Ouspensky interpreted it in his own unique way. He saw the Superman not as a product of historical evolution, but as a different state of consciousness, like a bolt of lightning from a dark cloud.
So it's not about physical strength or dominance, but a radical shift in awareness.
Exactly. And Ouspensky was careful to address the anxieties surrounding this concept. He emphasized that the Superman isn't about brute force, but a transformation of being, a step towards a higher level of understanding and purpose.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I have to admit, it's also a lot to process. It feels like we're just scratching the surface of Ouspensky's ideas.
We are, but I think we've laid a really solid foundation for understanding his system.
I agree.
And its implications for living a more awakened and fulfilling life.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. Where do we go from here? What other insights did Ouspensky offer on this journey of self-transformation?
Let's dive into his ideas about the 5 yogas.
Okay.
He saw them as different paths to self-perfection and higher consciousness, each tailored to specific types of individuals and their capacities.
So we're not just talking about physical postures here, but a broader understanding of yoga as a path to inner development.
Exactly. Ouspensky described 5 distinct paths. Raja Yoga, focused on the development of consciousness. Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. Karma Yoga, emphasizing right action. Hatha Yoga, which cultivates power over the body, and Bhakti Yoga, the path of right religious action.
So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure for self-transformation.
Yeah.
Which path resonated most with him?
While he acknowledged the value of each path, he seemed to have a particular affinity for Raja Yoga and its emphasis on self-remembering. He saw this path as being especially relevant for, modern seekers who are often trapped in the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
This is all incredibly inspiring, but I have to be honest, it's also a bit overwhelming. Is it really possible for us to achieve these higher states of consciousness?
Ouspensky believed that it is possible, but it requires a specific kind of effort. A deliberate and conscious approach to working on ourselves. He saw it as a system, like a very precise and methodical approach to this inner transformation.
Right, and he emphasized that this kind of transformation requires a very specific type of effort.
Yes.
Like a level of commitment.
Yes.
And discipline.
Absolutely.
That most people just aren't used to.
Absolutely. He didn't sugarcoat the challenges. He was very clear that this work is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
You know, it requires a willingness to confront our limitations and to question our assumptions and to really, like, step outside of our comfort zones.
So it's not about following a set of rules or dogmas.
No.
But about engaging in this process of self-discovery.
Yes.
That could be pretty uncomfortable at times.
Exactly. And one of the most challenging aspects of this work, according to Ouspensky, is the realization that, you know, we're not actually in control of ourselves as much as we like to think we are.
Okay, I remember you mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
The idea that we're not just a single unified I.
Right.
But like this collection of different I's that are constantly like vying for control.
Constantly vying for control. Absolutely. And he referred to this collection of I's as the false personality.
Right.
And he believed that this false personality is essentially a mask, like a collection of habits, beliefs, and reactive patterns that we've kind of developed over time to protect ourselves.
So it's like we're wearing this, like, armor.
Yeah, like armor.
This persona.
Yeah.
That keeps us from being fully authentic and present.
Exactly. And this false personality, according to Ouspensky, is the source of a lot of our suffering. It's what keeps us trapped in these cycles of negative emotions, self-defeating behaviors, and limiting beliefs.
That makes a lot of sense.
So it's about, like, shining a light.
Yes, shining a light.
On those unconscious patterns.
Exactly.
Those reactive tendencies that we're often not even aware of.
Precisely. And once we start to see these patterns more clearly, we can begin to create a space between ourselves and them.
Okay.
And he called this non-identification.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our thoughts and emotions are not who we are.
Right.
They're simply temporary states that arise and pass away. So it's like we're becoming the witness to our experience.
Exactly.
Rather than getting, like, swept away by it.
Exactly. And this is where self-remembering becomes so crucial. You know, by cultivating a state of presence, of being aware of ourselves as a whole, we can start to loosen the grip of those habitual patterns and reactive emotions.
This is all starting to sound a bit like mindfulness practice, which is very popular these days.
Right.
Is there a connection there?
Definitely. Ouspensky's teachings, they predate the modern mindfulness movement, but there are definitely some similarities.
Okay.
Both approaches really emphasize the importance of that present moment awareness, non-judgmental observation, and the cultivation of a more spacious and accepting relationship to our experience.
Okay, that's really interesting. So Ouspensky is essentially offering a path to awakening, like a way of moving beyond our limited, ego-driven sense of self.
Right.
And accessing a more expansive and interconnected way of being.
Exactly. And he believed that this journey of awakening requires a certain kind of effort, a very specific and methodical approach to working on ourselves.
And he called this approach the work.
Yes, the work. And he outlined several key elements of the work, including self-observation, non-identification, self-remembering, and the development of will.
Okay, so we've already talked about the first three.
Yeah.
Self-observation, non-identification, self-remembering.
Right.
But what about this idea of will?
Right.
What did he mean by that?
Well, Ouspensky believed that most people have a very weak and underdeveloped will. You know, we're easily swayed by our desires, our fears, the influences of the world around us. He argued that we need to consciously cultivate our will, to develop our capacity for self-discipline and conscious choice.
So it's not about suppressing our desires or becoming some kind of like stoic robot, but about learning to choose our actions more consciously, to act from a place of alignment with our deeper values and aspirations.
Exactly. And Ouspensky believed that the development of will is essential for breaking free from the tyranny of that false personality.
Right.
And accessing our true potential.
This is all incredibly insightful, but I have to admit, it also feels a bit daunting.
It can be. It can be.
It sounds like this work requires a tremendous amount of effort.
Right.
And I'm not sure I'm even capable of it.
That's a common feeling. Ouspensky acknowledged that this work is challenging and that it's not for everyone. But he also believed that everyone has the potential for growth and transformation if they're willing to put in the effort.
So it's not about being perfect
Right.
or achieving some kind of instant enlightenment.
No.
But about taking small steps consistently
Yeah.
in the direction of greater awareness and conscious choice.
Exactly. And he emphasized that we can't do this work alone. We need the guidance and support of others who have gone further on the path. He believed that true transformation requires a school, a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to this journey of awakening. He argued that as we grow and evolve, we naturally become more magnetic to the right influences, including the possibility of encountering a genuine school.
So it's like we're sending out a signal.
Yeah.
And when our frequency is aligned with that of a true school, we'll be drawn to each other.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about trusting the process. You know, focusing on our own inner work and allowing the right opportunities to unfold naturally.
Okay, that's a refreshing perspective. It takes the pressure off of feeling like we need to find the perfect group or teacher right away.
Right.
But I have to ask, what if we never find a school? Is it still possible to make progress on our own?
Ouspensky acknowledged that finding a genuine school is a rare and precious opportunity.
Right.
However, he believed that even without that formal instruction, we can still make significant progress by diligently applying the principles he outlined in his work.
So it's about taking ownership of our own development, even if we don't have a teacher or a group to guide us.
Exactly. He believed that by diligently practicing self-observation, non-identification, and self-remembering, we can begin to awaken from that sleepwalking state and access a deeper level of understanding and awareness.
This is all incredibly empowering. It suggests that we have more agency and potential than we often realize. But I have to ask, what about the role of fate or destiny? Did Ouspensky believe that our lives are, like, predetermined? Or that we have free will to shape our own path?
That's a profound question. And Ouspensky's perspective on fate and free will is both complex and fascinating. He believed that we're born with a certain essence, a set of predispositions and potentials that shape our lives. However, he also argued that we have the capacity to choose how we respond to those influences, to exercise our free will and create our own destiny.
So it's not a simple either-or proposition,
Right.
but a dynamic interplay between nature and nurture, fate and free will.
Exactly. Ouspensky believed that we're not simply puppets of fate, nor are we completely free agents. We're co-creators of our own reality, working within the constraints of our given nature while also having the power to transcend those limitations through conscious effort and choice.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It suggests that we have a responsibility to both honor our inherent nature and strive to become more than what we were born to be.
And that's the essence of Ouspensky's teachings. He's not offering a path of passive acceptance or blind faith, but a path of self-discovery, self-transformation, and ultimately self-realization.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the work of P.D. Ouspensky so far. His ideas are challenging.
They are.
Profound, and ultimately incredibly inspiring.
They are. And I believe that his teachings offer a timeless roadmap for navigating the complexities of human existence. And unlocking our potential for growth, awareness, and meaningful living.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to Teolumen Insights for more thought-provoking explorations. He seemed to believe that our ordinary perception of the world is incredibly limited.
He did. Ouspensky was a firm believer in the existence of higher dimensions of reality, ones that are currently beyond our ordinary perception.
So he's saying that there's a whole other level of reality that we're essentially blind to.
Precisely. And Ouspensky believed that this fourth dimension is not simply a spatial dimension, but a dimension of consciousness, a level of being that is characterized by a higher level of awareness, understanding, and interconnectedness.
Wow, okay, that's pretty mind-blowing. So how do we even begin to access this fourth dimension? Is it something that we can experience directly?
Well, Ouspensky believed that while we may not be able to directly perceive the fourth dimension in our current state of consciousness, we can begin to glimpse its reality through thought experiments, visualization exercises, and the cultivation of higher states of awareness.
So it's about expanding our perception, stretching the boundaries of our minds.
Yes.
to encompass a more expansive view of reality.
Exactly. And Ouspensky believed that this expansion of consciousness is not just a theoretical possibility,
Right.
but an essential part of our evolutionary journey.
Okay. I'm really intrigued by this idea of evolution. What exactly did Ouspensky believe about the evolution of humanity?
Well, he believed that humanity is in a process of evolution, not just physically, but also spiritually and consciously. He saw this evolution as a movement towards higher levels of being, towards greater awareness, understanding, and interconnectedness.
So he's not just talking about, like, biological evolution, but a kind of spiritual evolution, a process of awakening to our true potential.
Exactly. And he believed that this evolution is not something that happens automatically.
Right.
It requires conscious effort, self-observation, and a willingness to challenge our habitual patterns of thought and behavior.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like we have to actively participate in
It does.
our own evolution.
Yes.
To choose to grow.
Yeah.
And expand our consciousness.
Precisely. And Ouspensky offered a system, a path, for engaging in this process of transformation. He called it, as we've talked about, the work.
Right. We talked about the work earlier. It's about consciously striving to become more than what we are, to overcome our limitations, and evolve toward a higher level of being.
And Ouspensky believed that one of the key elements of the work is the development of will.
We talked about will before the break, too. It's about cultivating our capacity for self-discipline.
Yes.
And conscious choice.
Yes. And Ouspensky believed that will is not something that we're born with. It's a faculty that needs to be developed, strengthened, and refined through conscious effort.
So it's like a muscle that we need to exercise.
That's a great analogy. And Ouspensky offered several practices for developing will, including self-observation, self-remembering, and the practice of intentional suffering.
Intentional suffering. Okay, that sounds a bit intense. What did he mean by that? Yeah.
Well, Ouspensky believed that most of our suffering is unintentional. We suffer because we're identified with our false personality, because we're reactive to our emotions, because we're caught in those cycles of negative thinking. But he argued that we can also choose to suffer intentionally, to use our suffering as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
Can you give me an example? Like, what does intentional suffering look like in practice?
Sure. One example might be choosing to fast for a period of time.
Yeah.
The physical discomfort of hunger can be used as an opportunity to observe our reactions, to develop our self-discipline, and to strengthen our will.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense. So it's not about seeking out pain or hardship for its own sake, but about using challenging experiences as a crucible for growth and transformation.
Exactly. And Ouspensky believed that intentional suffering is not something that should be undertaken lightly. It's a practice that requires careful consideration, preparation, and guidance from a qualified teacher.
That makes sense. It sounds like a powerful practice, but also one that could be easily misused.
Oh, absolutely.
Or misunderstood.
Absolutely. And that's why Ouspensky emphasized the importance of finding a genuine school, a community of seekers who are committed to supporting each other's growth and understanding.
So we're back to the idea of school again. It seems like this is a really central theme.
It is.
In Ouspensky's teachings.
It is. Ouspensky believed that a true school is not just a place where we go to learn information. It's a living organism, a field of energy that can support and accelerate our inner growth. He saw it as a kind of crucible, a place where we can be challenged, stretched, and ultimately transformed.
And he believed that this transformation is not just about personal growth, but about contributing to the evolution of humanity as a whole.
Exactly. Ouspensky believed that we're all part of a larger evolutionary process, and that our individual efforts to awaken and transform ourselves can have a ripple effect on the world around us.
That's a beautiful and inspiring vision. It suggests that we have a responsibility not just to ourselves, but to the future of humanity.
We do. And Ouspensky believed that the future of humanity really depends on our willingness to awaken from that sleepwalking state, to embrace our true potential, and to work together to create a more conscious and harmonious world.
Well, this has been an incredibly rich and thought-provoking exploration of the work of P.D. Ouspensky. His ideas are challenging, profound, and ultimately incredibly inspiring.
They are, and I believe that his teachings offer a timeless roadmap for navigating the complexities of human existence and unlocking our potential for growth, awareness, and meaningful living.
I couldn't agree more. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing your knowledge and insights with us today.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into the work of P.D. Ouspensky. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Teolumen Insights for more thought-provoking explorations. We'll be back soon with another deep dive. But in the meantime, keep those minds curious and those hearts open to the possibility of a more conscious and fulfilling life.